Hey Sparkles, my name is Linnea Ann. You can call me Mimi or Ann, and welcome to my YouTube channel, aka this video you are watching right now. I want to talk about an experience that I had. As you all know, or some of you don't know who are watching this video for the first time, I have Asperger's syndrome, which is a form of autism. It is now considered known as ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder. And I was diagnosed with it officially when I was 15. But before that, I've been dealing with my whole life. Before I was diagnosed, I already had autism. And I was experiencing a whole bunch of stuff and not knowing what it was all about. Like, how was I supposed to know that I was autistic? Like, how was I supposed to know that this stuff was normal? Like, I didn't get a chance to really understand it until I left home. I didn't really understand myself until I left home. But there was an experience I had in 4th and 5th grade that really not just scared me, but scared everybody around me. And this is something that I've never heard talk about anywhere. Whether it's on TV, audio, anywhere. I know it exists because I've talked to people and it exists. It's real. But I've never heard it talked about. And that's sensory overload to the point of your whole body shutting down. And basically, you're paralyzed. And you can't do anything about it. So the first time it happened to me was in 4th grade. And it happened once. It just happened one time. And it started with my eyebrows, like above my eyebrows. Like, it wasn't both of them, it was just one of them. And it would hurt, almost like a migraine, but not quite. Like, it was just over one eyebrow. And I would start to drift. And every time I drift, the pain of my eyebrow just disappear. But I couldn't keep myself together. Like, I'm like, why am I, like, in my head I'm thinking, why am I falling asleep? I'm not tired. Like, what the heck is going on? Why am I, like, what is going on? And so I would slowly just fall. And my teacher noticed. So she sent me to the nurse's office. And as soon as I hit the nurse's, bed, the bed for kids, my whole body just shut down completely. Like, I could hear everything, but I couldn't move. It was literally not until the teacher, like the nurse, touched me, like moved me, that got me out of it. I think the worst part about it wasn't the fact that, like, the worst part about it was that I could hear everything and I couldn't do anything about it. Like, sometimes my eyes would still be open, too. Not all the time, but just sometimes. And I could see everything, but I couldn't react to it. Most times my eyes would be closed because of that, that falling asleep. But it was awful. It was just, like, downright awful. And after that first time, nobody believed me that it happened. Everybody thought I was being dramatic, that I was faking it, that it wasn't real. They just didn't believe me. Well, in 5th grade, it started happening more often. To the point that my school nurse had to argue with my dad saying something's up with her, like you need to get her checked out. And basically the best way I could just, back then I called it autistic seizures, but it's actually basically sensory overload to the point you just can't move. Like, you have so much sensory overload is when you have so much going on, like sounds, taste, if you're like even touch, senses, 5 senses. Well, with autism, with a lot of us with autism, those sounds, textures, feelings, all that can sometimes become so much that we either end up having a meltdown, or our body, like I just told you, completely shuts down. I don't know if anybody, I know a lot of stories from a lot of other people who talk about this, but I've never heard it from a doctor's perspective. So if you have autism and you're a doctor, or you're autism awareness doctor, and you want to make a video about this video and help me navigate this, that would be great. I would love to see your view on this. I also would like to see other people make videos about this. If you have experienced this, or you watch somebody else experience this, please speak up about it, because I feel like I'm not the only one that should be speaking about this. This is something so serious that people get made fun of for, just because it's something that actually happens and people don't believe them. Like, it's a real thing that happens. Sensory overload to the point you can't do anything about it happens. Like, I would literally just lay there and I couldn't move, and I could hear everything. And the only reason I didn't tell my folks and everybody I could hear everything was because they wouldn't believe that was happening. They would say, oh, you were faking it the whole time, blah, 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 blah. No, it was real. It was real. The only time I could snap out of it, was when somebody shook me, or pulled me on me, or basically slapped me or something. Like, they had to physically move me to bring me out of it. There was one time that didn't even help. Like, I knew my mom was pulling me off the bed, and I couldn't do nothing about it. And she basically told me I was faking that, and that wasn't real. I don't know why that happened, but I couldn't react to that. Like, I was literally pulled on, and for some reason, I couldn't snap out right away. I wanted to. I wanted to snap out. I wanted to snap out of it so badly that day. I didn't know how. I was just laying there, like, she's pulling me. Why am I not doing anything? It sucked. I was basically paralyzed, and I couldn't do anything about it. So they did tests on me. I don't know if it's called CAT scan or whatever, but they even did sleep. I even got a sleep test done too, like a sleep brain test done too. They did a lot of tests, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me, which is weird, but it's sensory overload can be like that sometimes. Like, doctors, is there a way to detect sensory overload? Like, is there a way for a doctor to detect that? Like, I don't know. I don't know personally, and I'd love to know from professionals about that. But it was frightening. It was a frightening experience. It finally stopped in like 6th grade, but that's because at the end of my 5th grade, my doctors switched my Concerta, which is a form of medication for ADHD that helps me refocus. I'm not on it anymore, and if you want to know why I'm not on it, I can always make a video about that in the future if you want to hear about it. But basically, it helped me refocus enough that it calmed down everything that was coming in and exporting, and it calmed everything down enough to the point I could focus again, and it helped for a while. I haven't had sensory overload to the point of being paralyzed since I was a fifth grader. I've had other things happen since then, also not fun stuff, but I've never had the experience like that ever again. And I feel like I have enough control of myself now, like enough control to know when I'm going through a lot and when I'm oversensitized and when there's too much sensory stuff going on now, that I can tell people. And I feel like I'm in more control than back then. But back then, I was definitely not in control. I did not know what I was doing back then. I mean, I was a fifth grader. I didn't get diagnosed with autism until I was 15, like, officially. So, I mean, yeah. So, I'm sure this video wasn't a huge help to people with autism or people with family members that have autism, but I hope it at least brought you awareness of the chances of this happening to your child, and that you know that you're not doing anything wrong. That it's just sometimes you get so oversensitized that there's nothing else you can do. Just believe your child when they say this is happening, though. If they're showing signs that it could be happening, don't put it off as them just faking it. Believe them. Well, that is it for this video. I know it's a very serious video. I know I tend to do that a lot. But I hope you still enjoyed it. If you didn't, that's okay too. I love you guys. God loves you guys. And I really hope you guys have a sparkling, fantastic day. Well, so sparkle on, my beautiful and wonderful sparkles.